Greetings and welcome to Pop's Collection. I'm Ron Tweedy. Joining me is Pops, and today we're going to be discussing the last two episodes of Ms. Marvel Season 1.
All right, so hello everybody. First of all, I guess we could call this the wrap-up show,
Sure.
along with discussing the episodes. I can't wait to see your final thoughts about the episode because I know it ended with your favorite character, so this ought to be really good. So let's talk a little bit about episode 5, which I thought was really good. Time and Again.
Yep.
And you pegged it, man.
Yep.
You called it.
Yep.
And I thought that was great the way they did it, the way they handled it. We start off in 1942 India, and I guess you could say it was Nani's origin story, or her mother's origin story. It could be both, really, because of we meet Aisha, which was Sana, which is Nani, her mother.
Yes.
And Hassan, her father.
That's right.
So we get that opportunity to meet the both of them. And we kind of see that we've had like little bits and pieces of this throughout the show.
Yep.
With Najma's, that's, I guess they're, I don't know, are they sisters or they family? Or are they just the same clandestines?
Yeah, I think they're just,
Yeah. Except that Aisha is the one that has the bangle.
Right.
So,
right.
And I don't know if she knows that them trying to get back is not a good thing, or if she just got enamored with Hassan and decided to make a life for herself here instead of in Noir,
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
More the case, you think?
I do.
I think it was really a good story the way they did that. And again, not knowing how historically correct they are with that, I'm sure they took a lot of liberties.
Maybe, yeah.
And because I guess it's kind of like the way the Jews were treated in Germany. Unless you were there and involved, in it, or a relative of a story that was passed down from time to time, that you really don't know the actual things of what happened,
I think it's a little bit different. I mean, one thing that you could say about the Germans, for at least all the faults of what happened in the early 20th century, is that they were very dedicated record keepers. And so we actually do have a pretty good idea about how horrible things were in Nazi Germany. But I think if you really want to compare it to another historical event, I think of what happened during one of the Russian revolutions, where it's kind of the similar situation where you had the family in Fiddler on the Roof, where it's a little Jewish village and they're kind of getting exiled. They kind of had to move. They were forced to leave their village at the end of the musical.
Right.
In a very similar way was religious differences that caused the partition to begin with, because there were Hindus and Muslims. It got really violent and deadly in a lot of ways, and so that's the reason why the partition happens in the first place. And it's obviously because things are never cut and dry. It's always messy. It's always messy. So
that's true, because you have this side and that side, and you have the side in the middle, and the middle never seems to prevent the other two sides from clashing.
Well, it's not even that, I don't think. I just think that you have borders are fuzzy things when it comes to the people groups. It gets really fuzzy. You actually can look at just looking at something from like a language perspective, where you have a nation like France and Italy. As you get to the Alps, there starts to be a blending of Italian and French together, and it gets kind of fuzzy as to what that really is. And so, anytime you try to make a separation between folks, you're just going to have folks stuck caught in the middle, and that's how it works.
I thought it was, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I thought it was kind of cool how we did get some actual historical pictures
Yeah,
in here
sure.
that, and the Brits were basically in the middle of this. And it looked to me like you had both groups working together in order to get freedom from the Brits. And then that's maybe when the clash started, when the issues started for the partition. What do you think? Maybe?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not well versed in that era of history or that location of history either to really speak to any type of general specificity to it. If we're talking about 20th century America and the West, I could probably walk you through that a little bit easier, but later 20th century, like Cold War stuff, I can definitely, wax a little more eloquent on that. But yeah,
right.
Yeah,
in this particular thing.
And in the context of the story, I'm just taking it all for granted that this is it. So I'm not worried about all that.
Right. And this episode, I thought it was really good the way they tried to blend it historically. Mm-hmm. And tell the story of that time, 1942.
Sure.
Which, like we said, you pegged it.
Uh-huh. I did.
And so often we have an issue where we get too messed up in one part of the story, but it kind of flowed in a direction to where we got the conflict between Aisha and Najma kind of, you could see that. I think Najma was kind of the leader of the group, and Aisha just, broke away from them.
Yep.
And you don't mess with the boss, as we see towards the end of that when they tried to get to the train. Mm-hmm. And then Sana, Aisha gives Sana the bangle, and then Najma kills Aisha. Mm-hmm. And it's like that part of the story wasn't known, but since Kamala is back there now, we get that at the trains, which I think that's probably the only place that she was. We got the other part as the story of building up Aisha and Hassan's relationship and all that stuff. But I think Kamala was just at the train station.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought it was kind of cool that she was able to get her help her Nani get to her father by having her walk on the steps.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of cool. And then also get the picture from Aisha for her Nani.
Yeah.
And then it got weird because then it went back to regular time, to the present time.
Yep.
And so we're back in the fight that we were in episode 4.
Right.
And Najma now, that all of a sudden we had the crack.
Yeah.
And she now is going to sacrifice herself to when she had wanted to just open that all up, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what made her change her mind? I don't know, right?
I don't know either.
Because it didn't seem like that's what she was going to do. But she did transfer her power to Cameron.
Yeah.
Which we saw.
Yep.
And pretty much that's pretty much to the end of the episode. We did get, I think, Cameron and Finding Bruno.
Yep.
And then we got our little vision with the DODC,
Mm-hmm.
the drone.
Yep.
And we learned that Cameron doesn't know how to control his powers.
Yeah.
Because he blew up the store along with the drone.
Well, I mean, he just got the powers. Of course, it's going to be unstable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. But that was kind of the end of the episode then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to decide if that was one of my favorite episodes or not, but let's just continue on. Episode 6,
mm-hmm.
No Normal.
Yep.
So I'm pretty much, this whole episode was about the DODC trying to capture Cameron.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Kamala too, right?
Yeah. And, quite frankly, I don't really like the direction of Damage Control in the MCU. I mean, as a comic, it was mostly a comedic book. It was really about, these workaday, non-superhuman people trying to clean up after big battles and things like that. And it was kind of a lighthearted, humorous take on all that because, a lot of people don't think about it, who cleans up after, the Battle of New York or whatever.
Right.
And this is like the second time we've seen them, and they've been the bad guys, in my opinion. The first one was Spider-Man Homecoming, where, the Vulture, he's, trying to do right by his family, and they come in and just kind of screw everything up. And this is the second time they've done that. And, I don't know, to me, I don't really like it.
The way they portray them. Well, you have Clary, which is the kind of the head of the DODC, and he seems to be somewhat trying to follow along the right path. But Deaver seems to be a real, she reminds me much of Vulture, where she must have had something go wrong and that she's really just got it out for them, Or am I talking wrong, you think?
I don't see that at all. I just think, it's just, again,
the group as a whole,
overzealous government agents. Obviously there's, I think, a good analog to that in real life. I'm fine with that. I just don't think DODC is the right thing. Like
right, compared to what they were in the comics.
Right. I mean, you really, if you wanted to do it well, you probably could say Sword would probably be a better one to do that with, because they already had interactions in a very poor way with in WandaVision. So that they could have set that up, but they decided to go DODC for whatever reason. And like I said, given Damage Control's original purpose, and like I said, the actual vibe of the group in the comics, it doesn't really, I think it's a bad fit. But again, they also, I think, as we'll talk about probably shortly, they made a terrible choice when it comes to Kamala's origin as well, which is kind of stupid, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we will. We did get, well, don't you think that the confrontation in the high school was kind of comedic?
I mean, sure. Yeah, it was fine.
And that was with the DODC, right?
Yeah, but the motivation behind it wasn't comedic at all. It was,
right.
It was the antics of, 4 teenagers or, 3 teenagers and a bigger brother, that was made it comedic. So.
Yes. Okay. Well, I have to admit that's right.
Yeah.
I have to also say that I think that Cameron he was a loose cannon pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. And actually that was very annoying.
Yeah.
I was done with that. I think that this was probably the worst final episode of any of the series that we've seen so far. Just very weak ending. Yeah.
Other than the fact that only because it had your favorite character at the end.
I would appreciate it if you would not, call her that, because the one thing,
okay,
it's not true. And the other thing, I haven't seen the Eternals yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. I wish we're gonna have to
So
do that.
so yeah, I mean that part doesn't bother me. What bothers me is, I it kind of suffers from like the final battle of Black Panther, where it was just like two CG characters fighting each other and it was boring. Same thing with this one. Super boring.
Yes, and I do have to say that the way they exaggerated
Mhm.
her powers at the end, making her hold that car with her hands up,
Yeah,
that was like, I think they could have gone in a better direction than that,
they could have just stuck to the comics, or better yet, the video game.
that
And
would have probably gone over. What do you think about her outfit or costume?
it was a little bit different than the comics.
But
I
it
would,
was a close resemblance, right? A little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Uh,
Well, kind of like, when we got the Daredevil costume first, his first one that they imagined, it was quite similar, but it was still had its differences,
I mean, that part doesn't bother me. It's just it kind of brings up something that we have talked about in depth. And I don't think we will. I think we'll just touch on it. But the reality is that there is a big deal made of Kamala Khan's and the Khan's family religious beliefs, right? That
Yes,
Muslim,
yes.
and let's just say that if a typical Pakistani Muslim mother was going to make a costume for her daughter, she probably would have made it a little less form fitting. It's kind of haram. I'm just saying. I'll put that out
Yeah.
there. I mean, but compared to other female superheroes that we've seen, it is more conservative if you're judging on that scale. But if you're judging from a typical Muslim view on modesty, that you would actually be close to the comics. Just throwing that out there.
Right. Well, she is wearing long pants and sneakers, so
Mm-hmm. Sure.
um yeah,
But the thing
I
is,
didn't have too much a problem
no,
with it.
I don't have a problem with it either, because it's not. I'm just wishing, or not wishing, but like I see the inconsistencies there, and it's kind of like they're being inconsistent for non. I'm trying to think of the right word. The inconsistencies there are because they want to push a political agenda, because it's not just that's kind of a minor thing. The major thing that gets it is that she encourages a same-sex relationship, and a couple episodes before that, that's kind of haram. And then the other thing is, you probably didn't notice it either, but at the very end of the mid-credit sequence, when the other character is looking at what's on Kamala's wall, there's one postcard on it that says "My body, my choice." Again, pretty haram.
Yes.
So anyway, I just it's like, I get it. Y'all are like, I mean, people are inconsistent. I get that, but at the end of the day, yeah, I don't know if that's really a good thing or not.
No, well, they do, let's face it, they do have an agenda that they want to
Yeah,
try and
yeah, and it's
push any way that they can.
and
And
it's
like you
been
said, it was very subtle.
and super cringe.
Yes. Yeah.
That seems to be par for the course, though, with Marvel nowadays, which is unfortunate.
Right. And I'm sure, I don't know if somebody else were to purchase Marvel from Disney, if it would get any better or not. I don't
Well,
know.
there is something to be said about how old a lot of these characters are. If it wasn't for Disney manipulating the government, they'd be in the public domain, and maybe we'd have folks actually treating these characters, that would be faithful to the original vision of, well, Ms. Marvel's this newer character, but people like
Right.
Thor, Jack Kirby's vision might be a little bit more. I don't know.
Yes.
But anyway.
Well, we did get, I'm guessing. I don't know if there'll be a Miss Marvel season 2.
No, and if you remember at the very end, it said Ms. Marvel return in the Marvels. So
The Marvels.
that is the next thing in the sequence for Kamala Khan, and she'll be making an appearance in that film.
Right. Phase 4, which is scheduled for release 7/28, 2023.
Okay. So
a year from now, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And of course, the Marvels, that's Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan,
yep,
and Monica Rambeau.
Or Maria, we don't know yet.
Well, usually I think I just have that feeling that Monica is going to be involved because.
Oh yeah, she is definitely. But I'm saying Maria as well as Monica, it's possible.
That's true. That's true.
Because who knows if they're going to do the multiverse route, and if they do, then we have, we already have precedent from Multiverse of Madness.
Right. Yes. Well, and that's kind of crazy that I kind of got that feeling with that feature where the bangle lit up and she got sucked into the closet, and then Carol Danvers came out.
Yeah.
So it became to me like a multiverse thing.
Yeah, maybe
from that.
Yeah, I don't know. The in the original comic, one of Kamala's powers is that she was able to shapeshift into Carol Danvers. So who knows if that's what it is? Obviously, I don't think that's the case, because obviously they deviated so much from the original story. I don't think that's what it is. But you're right, it might be some sort of interdimensional transmitter thing.
Right. And I think that was all to set up the movie.
But now that I think about that, when I'm just thinking of the post-credit sequence of Shang-Chi, when they're reviewing the rings, and Carol Danvers is one of those that is examining that as well. So I wonder if there's a connection there.
Well,
I mean, we already saw that the Ten Rings was a part of the ruins where they found the bangles to begin with. So I'm thinking that there's a connection there somewhere.
Well, I'm sure there is. Marvel usually doesn't do anything without a reason. There's always something somehow behind that.
I don't know how you explain the two post-credit sequences in the Guardians Volume 2, because that went nowhere. But anyway.
Well, not yet. We don't know if they will or not. Maybe they'll be in Volume 3.
Or what happened to what's his face? Blanking on the name. Stearns from Incredible Hulk. No, nowhere there either. So.
No, unfortunately not.
So it's they do things all the time that they don't follow up on, and it's horrible.
Especially things that you wish they would have followed up on.
Indeed. Yeah.
Because, well, even though as we discussed last week, that Ragnarok was probably Planet Hulk, and probably the next Hulk movie that should have been.
Yeah.
Because we never got anything after the Norton version.
Right.
Which I thought we were going to, but didn't work out.
Well, remember that the Universal owns the rights to that character, and so you can't have unless it's a Universal thing, like Spider-Man being a Sony thing.
Right. Well, it's true. But we are going to get a new Fantastic Four.
Right, because that was owned by Fox, and Fox was purchased by Disney.
Right. So we got that. So that will be something to look forward to for me as a Fantastic Four fan. But your feelings about this series as we wrap it up.
Yeah.
There were cringe moments, but not a whole lot of cringe moments. There were
less than Thor. I'll I'm into that.
Okay, good. Uh, would you watch this series again?
I'd watch some episodes again. I think the first episode is really strong. I think the fifth episode is really strong, and about half the episodes are worth watching again.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I'd say.
For me, my favorite was the fifth episode. I really liked that a lot.
Okay.
I thought it was done really well. Uh, couldn't say too many bad things about it, but overall, I guess I'm kind of like you. I, if I am able to get it on DVD, I'll watch it again. If only to make sure that all the episodes work on the DVD discs,
Right.
But other than that, how would you rate it?
That probably a 6, just slightly better than average.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. There were some things that I thought might have been been nicer on a big screen, but for what we watched it on,
yeah,
I think I'll agree with you on this and go 6 on it.
Yeah. I really believe that if they could have done it much better. I think if they would have stuck to the same origin as
The comic.
Yeah, no, not as the video game, actually. I think doing that, introducing the Inhumans and doing all of that, I think that would have made it much better. And so, in my opinion, I think that that made it, worse. They could have had an opportunity to introduce the other Inhuman characters, or they could have tied in other of the new generation of the Avengers. They could have been, introduced Kate Bishop or Yelena Belova, any of those. I mean, even I'm trying to blank, what's his name? The US agent guy.
Oh,
I know you're talking.
Ryan.
No.
What's
no. Man, I feel bad. I should know this. John something.
John Walker.
Right.
Yes. Because I remember thinking, Walker, Texas Ranger,
So that theoretically, I think, could have made it a lot more cohesive, but
I would have loved if they would have put the Inhumans in there.
Yeah.
I actually loved that little, I guess you could call it a mini series. It only lasted.
It was a one season thing, but
yes.
Anyway, yeah, I think that was a wasted opportunity. So, it's one of those things where I think sometimes, it's one of those things where you have, you want to make sure that you give the creators creative freedom to tell the story they want to tell and tell it in a good way. But if you make it so insulated, it kind of misses the point of how rich the universe is that you can pull from. So
yeah, well, sometimes the writers, as we know, have an agenda that they want to get across, and sometimes the director has the agenda, so, or the company, as we know. So really, it was above average. How do you feel about children watching it? Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, like I said, the some of the wokeness nonsense is enough to where it's most of it will just go over their heads. There is an overemphasis on the whole partition thing, but again, I can't really speak to that, but it does. It seems to be a little bit over the top how that, like, it's like mentioned at least several or once or twice an episode, and it's
Yes.
like, okay, we get it. It was bad. We get it.
Right. Right. True.
So anyway, there's that. But yeah, I think kids would be fine. It's not that big of a deal. And quite frankly, there are a lot of moments that are very wholesome, especially the family moments, and that's definitely a nice thing. That's going for it is a positive. So
right. We didn't even speak of the parts where they had the DODC, going into the mosques,
yeah,
and their treatment of the Muslims there,
right,
which I thought was also something that they did, to they did it on purpose,
yeah,
purposely. So
yeah. In their defense, I mean, there was profiling happening in the aftermath of 9/11, and some of that profiling is warranted and some of it is not. At the end of the day, I would advocate for a government that doesn't have enough power to figure out what's going on inside of religious houses of worship. I'm okay with that, but typically it's like I would just advocate for that across the board, not just necessarily one religion over the others. So
right. Right. And that was more like a profiling thing too. So okay, so a 6. Let the kids watch it.
Sure.
You'd watch some episodes again.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right.
I'm going to say that's a wrap.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to you all with something special next week. And until then, goodbye. God bless.
Goodbye. God bless. Tell your friends.